This is a great question, and it's an important question. And you're asking, what is an underbelly? And let's see the best way that I could say what an underbelly break. So this is like CTM TA. You won't find it anywhere else in the universe. And I'm trying to think of what was the actual catalyst that led to the underbelly breakouts. Just give me 1 second. So this was pivotal. Hold on 1 second. This is not it, but this leads to it. So this is back in the summer of 2023. We're watching the DXY together, and we have this like triangle. You see the red support, and then price broke down from there. You can see the breakdown. We're bearish on the dollar at this particular juncture. This is, by the way, we first went bearish on the dollar on this breakdown over here, this sell impulse, and then price was able to make the repair, and then we readjusted down, and this is where we first went bearish on the dollar. I mean, people were so bullish. The next thing that happened was that they, just of note, when they did in 2014 the gold referendum, the people voted massively against it. It probably would have been a good idea for them to do it, but we'll see what happens with it. They only need 200,000 signatures, but then the population actually votes on it. After that breakdown, we're bearish. We're this is consolidation. We wound up breaking down to the downside. We could have broke out to the upside. After breaking down, though, price came back into the reclaimed support, and then we're like, okay, well, now we're neutral. And then we saw this happen. We're neutral, and we were neutral up until this breakout above the yellow line right there. Then we're bullish. And then that trade wound up going and continuing. And okay, that's good positioning. But I was like, we're late. We were very late on. Like we're always striving to improve and do better. And the way that was navigated was good, but we're always looking to do better, right? Small incremental gains. And then, like, again, most people here still we're not yet bullish on the dollar. So we got on the right side at least, and we didn't do it. Like, then I noticed that, like, what happened was when we went neutral, breakdown neutral, okay, that's fine. The trade didn't push. That's great. But then I saw the back test. I said, wow, that is the area that we should have gotten bullish on that. And then if you look, this is not where the underbelly came from, but if you look now with me, and I just go ahead and I was gonna borrow this line, and I'm gonna put it off of right here, right there, right? And you can see not only that's where I'm putting it off of, but you can see resistance, support, resistance, the retest, the breakout above there. That should have been the entry, and that is an underbelly breakout. That's what an underbelly breakout is. That's not where the underbelly breakout originally was born. That is this led to the underbelly breakout, though. The fact of, okay, we're on the right side, but we want to be as early as possible. So this trade here led to the desire that, okay, remember, horizontal breakouts are late, trend lines are early, but it's not the earliest, and we want to eventually be able to just be the best. And then I think the 10-year. So this is definitely not where the underbelly comes from, but this is an example of an underbelly, and this is one that we've used recently. And you could see on this breakout here, as the Fed cut 50 basis points, this was our entry, selling yield, selling the 10-year right here. And it was an underbelly breakout, but that's just being used in real time. That's not where it came from. Trying to figure out our first introduction of an underbelly, and it might be this. So this is where the name came from. Let me show you where the name came from. Let me first go ahead and just quickly. pull it up. Do 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 boom boom boom. So this is early 2023. And I just point out the like prices right here, right around 20,000. And I post on Twitter. I post on Twitter. Listen, underbelly breakouts are usually a bottoming confirmation on Bitcoin. And if you look at this light blue cycle over here, you can see this is support, right? You see the breakdown, resistance. It broke out here above and then went back below, and then ultimately it was the breakout. Now, even though it broke out here above, in the ultimate stop really wasn't hitting. The low is over here, right? And not clean, but worked. Same thing over here in back to 2016 cycle. And you can see this is support, breaks down, resistance. This is the underbelly breakout, and this is the bottom of the bull market. And then you can see again in this current cycle I did, this is the support, resistance, 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 underbelly breakout. And again, it was the low of the cycle. So that was like where underbelly was born. And that was putting first what I explained with happening on the DXY as, okay, we need to be early. We need to be the earliest. This was good positioning. You're on the right side. Hey, that's what we want to do. But we want to be as early as possible. I showed you what an actual underbelly looks like by just taking this line, even though that wasn't used. It was this piece here saying that would have been best. And then the underbelly breakouts on Bitcoin was where the term was born. And then what we do is we've since been able to identify what we call, and again, this is not something that I know about, market structure. Every asset has its own unique structure. And by using its structure, we're then able to identify where underbelly breakouts are taking effect. And this is all just a continuing education and line of thought being all in real time worked out. As you can see, I was saying, I don't know if this is the earliest underbelly. This is what I was going with here. How could I do better? What would have been I want to know the science behind it. And then I'm even going like this yesterday and I'm looking and I'm saying, I hope this scratch is here. So I'm looking at this yesterday and I'm like, this is like a trend line that is people would draw, right? Like it's a normal trend line. And I could say, okay, trend line, resistance, support. It's a good trend line. I'm like, well, it's late though. Go down over here and I'm like, oh, that's structure. You can see the resistance, the resistance, the resistance, the resistance. If I put it down further, I imagine likely I'm coming off of here now. Yeah, that's fuzzy, but there's two touches. And so I'm like, what's the earliest? What's the earliest that we should have been looking to line up this? Right. So I don't know. I'm just putting it here now. And you can see the resistance here, resistance, support, and then I'm like, all right, well, what's like, how do I find out? So I put it off the low here. All right. I say, is that when we looked at like, is this the earliest sign, the breakdown here and then the reclaim? I don't have any answer. I'm just saying like, that's the whole thought concept behind underbelly and looking to be as early as possible. Let's see where I had this. So leave it there. I don't, because I want to know, or I want to be able for us to be as early as possible at all times. So that is the AI pull it up like in the future. That's where underbellies come from. That's a brief description of underbellies, an introduction. And in real time, during our sessions, in the years ahead, it will continue to be displayed, perfected, and taught. That's how we go. So current entry, finally, discretionary into profit over here. Stop loss remains intact. I'm not, and I wonder And is now that not now that we made the high, the pullback in the high, is that the time? But we don't need to yet. We'll give it some room over here and continue out. It likely is the time.